Welcome back to Top Time, your favorite channel for exploring the extraordinary and incredible. There are a lot of natural wonders in the world. There are such natural phenomena that cause a lot of emotions and admiration of people. This collection contains 10 natural phenomena that are common all over the world and create a wonderful atmosphere of immersion in the absolute pleasure of the surrounding world. These are the top 10 natural phenomena. Let's go! 10. Glowing beach, Maldives. As the sun sinks below the horizon and the sky begins to darken, the turquoise waters of the Maldives turn into a surreal spectacle of light and movement. The ocean is coming to life, and this phenomenon, which seems almost otherworldly, is simply fascinating. It's as if the stars themselves have fallen from the sky and are now sparkling underfoot, resembling the sight from the Avatar. Bioluminescence is a unique and mysterious phenomenon that occurs in various organisms in the natural world, including bacteria, algae, jellyfish, crustaceans, worms, fish, sharks, and even fungi. In Maldivian waters, bioluminescence is caused by microscopic plankton called dinoflagellates. These dinoflagellates use a chemical called luciferin to emit bright blue light as a defense mechanism against herbivorous copepods. The flashes of light produced by dinoflagellates can disorient and confuse predators. The movement of the waves can also cause this light emission, which leads to a mesmerizing view of the luminous waves washing the coast of the Maldives. 9. Aurora Borealis, Norway. The northern lights are one of the most charming and inspiring natural phenomena that occur only around the Arctic, near the North Pole, and the Antarctic, South Pole, Circle. The northern lights are caused by the fusion of charged particles and atoms, which are typical only for these two regions on Earth. One of the best places to observe this natural phenomenon is in Lapland, northern Finland. There you can encounter rich wildlife in completely uninhabited areas, while the best conditions for observing the phenomenon are provided by a completely transparent night sky, without urban night lighting, lack of telecommunication signals, or air pollution. Aurora Borealis is a truly romantic miracle because it appears at a very high altitude and resembles blue, yellow, green, reddish, and purple rivers in the sky, which are dotted with countless bright stars. 8. Rainbow Mountains, China. China has the Zhangye National Geopark, which is definitely one of the top most unusual parks in the world. All thanks to the mountains, famous for their bright colors. The uniqueness of these mountains also lies in the fact that man did not influence their design in any way. All the colors were formed by nature, and the process of their formation took millions of years. Zhangye National Geopark is located in the north of China in Gansu Province. It covers an area of 510 square kilometers. In 2009, it was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. About 540 million years ago, there was an ocean on the site of the geopark, which disappeared as a result of the movement of tectonic plates. The mountains appeared 55 million years ago after the collision of the Indian plate with the Eurasian plate. Just as two cars get into an accident, small mountains have formed in place of smooth sandstone. Many of them reach several hundred meters in height. 7. Grand Prismatic Spring, Wyoming. The Great Prismatic Spring, located in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, USA, is a stunningly beautiful and unique natural wonder that attracts visitors from all over the world. Its bright and mesmerizing colors make it one of the most photographed geothermal sites in the park. The Great Prismatic Spring is the largest hot spring in the United States, with a diameter of over 60 meters and a depth of over 36 meters. The spring is fed by hot water from the park's geothermal springs, which flows through a vent in the ground and fills the pool. The water temperature ranges from 70 to 87 degrees, which makes it too hot for most life forms. What distinguishes the Great Prismatic Spring from other hot springs is its bright colors. The The spring is surrounded by a series of stripes radiating outward from the center, each of which has its own special color. The outer stripe is dark red, which gradually turns into orange, yellow, green, and finally blue in the center. These colors are caused by a combination of pigmented bacteria and light penetrating through the water. 6. Fly Geyser, Nevada. Fly, also known as the Rainbow Geyser, is a man-made wonder that attracts tourists to get to know its multicolored structure better. Fly looks different at different times of the year and day, but it's always magical. The thermal spring was formed in 1916, when the company drilled a test well and got into a geothermal pocket. Later, the well was abandoned, but in 1964, another group of power engineers repeated the action of their colleagues, making a hole in the neighborhood. However, the water was not too hot for energy purposes, and drilling work was stopped. For some reason, the well could not be sealed by the handmade people, and over time a multicolored miracle of nature formed in this place. The chemical composition of the mineral water of the Fly Geyser is unique. The temperature of the water coming out of the geyser can exceed 90 degrees Celsius. Water enriched with various minerals, as well as microorganisms and algae, gradually created bizarre reliefs of bright colors. Over time, intriguing structures have developed on the site, from which a stream of water is constantly being thrown out. 5. Pink Lakes, Australia. Hillier Lake is located on the middle island of the Australian Recharge Archipelago. It is believed that the British navigator Matthew Flinders learned about Egarushka for the first time in 1802. Apparently, he was very surprised when he climbed to the highest point of the island and saw a pink lake. It is surrounded by a dense eucalyptus forest, which ends on one side with the coast of the Pacific Ocean. It is best to look at the lake from a great height, because from there you can see that the water is painted in a very bright pink color. There are many lakes with an unusual shade of water on our planet, but Hillier is the only one of its kind. The lake has a small depth, its length is 600 meters, and its width is 250 meters. Sometimes the shade of the water changes from bright pink to maroon, it depends on the season. You can swim in Lake Hillier because it does not pose a danger to human health. Since the water in the lake is very salty, a person can simply lie down on the water and the water itself will push him to the surface. The salinity level is several times higher than that of the ocean waters off the coast of Australia. At the beginning of the XX century, salt was even mined from behind the lake, but 6 years later the work was done properly. 4. Canocristales, Colombia. The Canocristales River, which flows in the Serranía de la Macarena National Park in Colombia, has a number of features that make it called the most beautiful river in the world. An interesting fact is that the water in the Canocristales River has practically no minerals, salts, and impurities in its composition, so it is crystal clear. The bottom of the river is visible even at a depth of several meters. Due to the lack of chemical elements, the water is unsuitable for drinking. It is difficult to imagine that the Canocristales is one of the few freshwater rivers in the world that does not have fish due to the fact that there is practically no silt at the bottom. When you see Canocristales for the first time, you can't believe your eyes. When have you ever seen a colored river? At first glance, it may seem that the water is covered with colored spots. But these spots are nothing but algae, which give color. Blue, red, yellow, purple, and even black algae grow here. It is not for nothing that the local population calls Canocristales the River of Five Colors. The Canocristales River is not always full of bright colors. For only a few months, from September to November, tourists will be able to enjoy the multifaceted palette of colors of the river. Depending on the weather, one color or another may prevail here. For example, during the hot days of autumn, most of the underwater flora turns rich red. 3. Mount Roraima, Venezuela. What is striking in the first place is the steep, almost sheer walls of this mountain and the peak, which is constantly in fog. It seems that there is a huge stone wall in front of you, going somewhere under the clouds. How can we not think about a flat Earth and the theory that high barriers surround our planet at the edges? But no, when the clouds part for a short time, you can see the top of this mountain. And what you see makes you even more perplexed. It is absolutely flat, resembling a table. Actually, table mountains, and that's exactly what they are called, are not a rare phenomenon in the world. They are found in Africa, Asia, and South America. And everywhere they are called differently. In particular, in the Amazon jungle, local Indians call them tepui and believe in their divine origin. Here is Mount Roraima, the top of which is constantly covered with clouds. According to their beliefs, this is the home of the goddess Queen, the ancestor of all life on the planet. At all times of the mountain's existence, Indians have repeatedly tried to climb it to visit their goddess. But often all trips to the top ended in failure, because the way to the mountain lies through impenetrable swamps and dense thickets of the equatorial forest. And then you have to climb up somehow. In general, only some particularly lucky daredevils managed to conquer this peak. And when they came back down, they talked about an amazing plateau with steep walls, cascades of waterfalls, unusual rivers with red water, absolutely black animals, and colorful crystals scattered everywhere. 2. Rainbow eucalyptus trees, Philippines. No, this tree was not doused with paint. This is how nature intended it. Very bright, very beautiful, and no less unusual trees can be seen on the Philippine Islands. These trees are called rainbow eucalyptus. The word rainbow in the name of this amazing plant is not accidental. Their bark shimmers with almost all the colors of the rainbow: yellow, orange, blue, green, purple, and brown. Even with a close acquaintance with eucalyptus, it seems that its bark was painted by an abstractionist. However, the multicolored stripes and spots are of natural origin and even serve as something of an indicator of the age of the bark. In 1929, rainbow eucalyptus was first discovered in the Hawaiian Islands, where individual trees can reach 75 meters in height. The most remarkable and unusual phenomenon is the presence of multicolored bark due to the fact that this very bark peels off at different times, and its different colors are peculiar indicators of the age of the bark. When a tree has recently lost its bark, the new outer bark will have a bright green color at this point on the trunk. Over a long period of time, the bark gradually darkens and changes its color from blue to purple. Even later, it turns maroon or orange in color. 1. Spotted Lake, Canada. Kliluk, Hiluk, is one of the derogatory lakes on the planet. It is located in British Columbia, Canada. Its second name is Spotted Lake, which means spotted lake, and effectively the lake enchants with its unusual, even some kind of appearance. It's like opening with colorful spots with TVRD overgrowth. Its uniqueness lies in the fact that the water contains the largest number of different minerals in the world. Magnesium sulfate, calcium, sodium, silver, and titanium, all these minerals can be found in the lake water. There are no fish in it, no algae grow. Only some microorganisms live here. The water in this lake has an incredible therapeutic effect, but you can't drink it. In spring and winter, Lake Kliluk looks like an ordinary lake. It begins to acquire its unique appearance in the hot summer. During this period, many spots of various shapes and colors form on the surface of the lake. The color of the lake spots depends on the period of the year and weather conditions. At the same time, at the edges of the spots, due to the drying of the lake, islands of minerals begin to emerge, covered with a strong crust. They are strong enough and you can even walk on them. Stay tuned for exciting new episodes of Top Time, in which we explore the amazing, unprecedented, and downright strange. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Top Time. See you soon.